Belmont Stakes at Saratoga Racecourse. Let's get this going.
Trust the Profits is proud to be sponsored by Game of Silks. Go to silks.io to get in the game. Real ownership, real races, real rewards.
Welcome, horse racing fans, to the early look at the Belmont Stakes. A little bit of a different look this year at Saratoga Racecourse. I brought my friends with me, Sean, Patrick, Nolan, and Riders Up Tim. How you doing today, gentlemen?
Hey, buddy.
Doing incredible.
Getting excited for the Belmont. Less than 10 days away. We're happy.
Yeah, time flies here. You know, Preakness Stakes is in the books, and we saw Seize the Gray with a big upset up front with the speed, son of Arrogate there. And Seize the Gray will actually be, you know, he's probable in the Belmont Stakes. So we'll talk about him, the Preakness winner, and we'll, you know, possibly have, you know, a couple other real contenders here. You know, we got Mystic Dan, the Kentucky Derby winner, is very probable for the Belmont Stakes. So what are your early thoughts on the field? And give me your thoughts also, gentlemen, on the difference now at Saratoga instead of, you know, the construction going on at Belmont.
Tim, you want to go first?
Sure. I mean, obviously, it's going to be the talk is the Belmont at Saratoga. So with everything going on with the construction, and I get it, I understand, and I think it's the right move by that track to do some updates and everything. So when it comes to the Triple Crown races, we all know how nobody in horse racing land, none of our fellow handicappers or anybody that will be watching this video really has any strong opinions about these races or anything, right? So we all know that when it comes to these races, that at the end of the day, we like to keep things kind of the status quo, right? We've had people talk about changing the timing, changing this, changing that, and people don't like change. People are resistant to change, and I think horse players, when it comes to the Triple Crown, we don't like a lot of change. Now, this isn't a change. It's nothing long term. I get what they're doing here. It makes a lot of sense. So it does change the dynamic. Obviously, Saratoga doesn't allow for a 1.5 mile race, so we're going to contest this Belmont Stakes at 1.25 miles. So changes the dynamic there. And the only thing I'll add before I turn it over to my friend Sean here is that I am kind of glad, honestly, that Mystic Dan did not win the Preakness, only from a perspective. You always love to see a horse go for a Triple Crown. But the only thing is we would have heard forever how it wasn't a true Triple Crown, even if it was able to do it, because it wasn't 1.5 miles. It wasn't the Belmont. It wasn't this. It wasn't that. Hey, we have the potential for 3 different horses in 3 different races. So, Sean, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you guys, and the same kudos to Pimlico. The Preakness for a couple of years is going to be at Laurel now because they're going to update to Pimlico, which is in dire need of a thing. So I think for the sport as a whole, going forward, to have 2 really great homes Churchill Downs already, as Tim has shown us, has done a magnificent job with their facility. To have 3 quality facilities, I think to host these races on a yearly basis, I think it's just fantastic for the sport going forward. The other thing is, too, this year, I think this is exciting from a standpoint. You go from 1.5 miles to 1.25 miles. All of a sudden, you're inviting other horses that may have said, no, 1.5 miles is too long. Torpedo Anna, her name is now there on the list. Is she there if it's 1.5 miles at Belmont? It's just an interesting. It's inviting other horses that may have not gone to Belmont for 1.5 miles. I think it makes it a much more competitive race at 1.25 miles, right? Obviously, we would love to be at Belmont for 1.5 miles. It's tradition. We all love it. But it's going to be exciting because I think the field is better and there's more horses, and I think the race itself is stronger now.
Very good point by both of you. No, I agree. It's a unique distance that they had to adapt to this year. And I thought everybody did a good job just putting this all together for the Belmont Day Stakes Festival. It's going to be the entire weekend at Saratoga. So enjoy. I know you're going, right, Sean? So they're going to have a great time there.
And Tim's #1 horse White Avario is coming back
Exactly.
to Saratoga.
Is
Exactly.
he
So that is
running on Belmont Stakes Day, maybe?
on
All right.
Belmont Stakes Week.
He
Yeah.
is. Yes.
Yeah. He will be
Very
back.
exciting.
Yeah.
Great, guys. Awesome. So let's take a
Or
look.
as Kurt,
Yeah.
as Cineboya says, White Avario.
That's it. Awesome. So very cool. So we'll take an early look. We got a lot of horses. We got probables and possibles, just a list that we found online. So let's take a look here. Early look.
Sure.
Got a lot of contenders here.
Sure.
And you want to, anybody want to start us off? We got Sierra Leone, obviously the runner-up finish in the Kentucky Derby, the thrilling 3-horse photo there. Chad Brown, obviously, in the connections right away, they stated that this horse is going to be training up for the Belmont. So anybody want to, give us some analysis on Sierra Leone, who might possibly go off as the favorite?
Sure, I'll jump in first. So obviously everybody saw what happened in the Derby. You've got a horse here who always puts in a great race, always has done well, is always right there. Finished second. You've got the controversy of the bumps with Forever Young coming down the stretch in the Kentucky Derby. I think there were some questions by Chad. Chad made some comments, and they were a little bit unusual in that he talked about a couple of points in the Derby where Tyler kind of got himself in a little bit of trouble and had to kind of slow down and get around horses. And he kind of said, and I'm not sure he meant it this way, I think he was trying to be complimentary, but he said that he thought that it was the right move in each case. But obviously he wasn't really happy because here we are, Sierra Leone is training up for the Belmont, and he takes Tyler off and he puts Flavian Pratt on board. So very interesting here that you are coming in to a big race like this and you're going to try out a new jockey. Another thing that I've been reading about is they've been practicing and working with a cage bit. So it's something that Chad said that he had tried in practice in a lot of the workouts for the horse previously, but he didn't want to make the change in the race. That he thought the things they were doing with the blinkers was enough. But it is something that they think might be able to help correct the horse during the race. I think it's an extreme move a little bit. Sean will probably add in here as far as equipment changes going into a big race. But I'm going to say this. I think a lot of people are going to be on Sierra Leone. You mentioned the possibility of the favoritism here. I think he's going to be at least in the favorite too. And I'm going to just go on record right off the bat before we talk about anybody else that's saying that Sierra Leone is just going to be too much of an underlay for me to play.
Yeah. You bring up a point there. I mean, we got to see obviously the morning line, and, the bettors are obviously going to take notice there. And, it's interesting with the jockey switch, like you mentioned. And Sean, what did you think of Sierra Leone? Like I said, it was announced, we're skipping the Preakness. We're going right to the Belmont, and very talented horse. What do you think? You think he's got obviously a big chance here, right?
Yeah. Obviously, Chad's from Saratoga. There's no bigger race. He would rather win 10 Belmonts. I know it sounds crazy. He's from Saratoga. He would rather win 10 Travers than 10 Derbies. Obviously, he wants to win the Derby, but I'm saying Saratoga is his home. This means to win the Belmont at Saratoga would be incredible. You know what I'm saying? So obviously he's going to try everything in his power to do so. Now, Tim was absolutely right. I am never a fan of equipment change before a big race. I don't like it. You know what I'm saying? And Tim kind of hit the nail on the head there with Chad's comments. I'm listening to the comments, and he's trying to be as positive to Tyler as he can, right? But that's like me saying that chocolate ice cream is my favorite ice cream, but I'm going to have a strawberry frap. You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't quite work, right? And for people that don't know what a frap is, it's like a milkshake up here in Boston. But
it's not that Pepto Bismol milkshake that you have,
right? But we're changing you. You know what I mean? It doesn't fly. So it sounds like a good. I think he did a good PR move on it. You know what I'm saying? Basically, exactly. So and Flavian's the patient rider. which maybe I think really does help. He's one of the most patient riders out there. I mean, I think Tyler is too, but yeah, so I think he's going to be right there again. This is going to be interesting on that deep surface. That left leg that he keeps going off, coming down the stretch, has cost him. Before it cost him versus Dornoch at in the Withers. It cost him in the Derby. If he stays straight, he wins that race most likely. I think if he stays on the straight path, you know what I'm saying. But again, he bore in on the left leg. So on that deep Saratoga track, do you have to use him? Absolutely. Do you have to use him on top? No.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to the price, right? Too, as a horse player, so it's going to be interesting. I mean, they've been pointing obviously to this race ever since the Derby ended, so very, very good. And then so that Sierra Leone obviously has a huge shot there. Now we have Fierceness, who is listed as probable right now.
Yep.
And obviously this was the going off as the favorite in the Derby. For Fierceness, we got to see what kind of trip he's going to get in his Johnny V. It looks like Johnny V is probably going to stay on as of right now. We'll get to that. So what are your early thoughts on Fierceness? And maybe, I know, Tim, I'm not sure if you're going to be betting him again, but maybe you'll get a little bit more of a price this time.
Yeah. And I'm not sure that happens either, but I will say this, and you guys know that I labored a lot with going with Fierceness in the Derby, and I just thought that there was the opportunity there for this horse to be something special. But, I go back to a post that I made on Horse Racing X after Fierceness's first race. And I said, let's just not anoint this horse as the next Kentucky Derby winner yet, because I don't think he's done much impressive. And you know what? I've been on the wrong side of his races every time. And if I'm on the wrong side of him this time, it means he wins, because I'm not playing him. And I think he's another one with the potential, especially coming off of that 15th place finish in the Derby. I just think this is a horse that has to have the absolute perfect trip. This is not a 20 horse field, but I'm just not sure he gets it. This is New York. Rapoli's going to take money. This horse is going to take money. Fierceness has done well at Saratoga, had a great debut there at Saratoga. But I'm sorry, if Fierceness wins, then I lose, because it will be a no play for me.
All right. Well, that's very fair. And what do you think, Sean? You going to have Fierceness on your tickets?
Man, I'll tell you right now. And to Sierra Leone's credit, no one had a more impressive debut at Saratoga last year than Sierra Leone did. So obviously he likes the track, which I just want to put in. So obviously that's a huge thing in this thing. Now we come to Fierceness. Okay. Do we hop or do we not hop? That's the question. Todd's head right now must be absolutely spinning, wondering which horse do I put him in again. I wonder if he's going to run or not. I still am not on 100% that he is going to run in this race. I don't know if Todd can afford to have him have another bad start at the gate where he hops or does just something and he just doesn't come in. Obviously, I think now for one of my friends who is like Tim is to White Barrio, he's the Fierceness, right? He's got his thing. A, B, A, B, A, B. So we just had the terrible B. So therefore, this must be the A performance.
Right.
Exactly. So according to him, he's going to win by 6 because he has one good, one bad, one good, one bad, one good. So he's now on the good cycle. So I guess if you're on the A-B cycle with Fierceness, you got to use him because he's on the A cycle. But I'm still wondering if he will even run in this race. Whether he'll make it to the entry box or not. But I mean, on talent,
what makes you say that? You think, Sean? What you think? Maybe just they're going to point to something else over the summer. You think, or?
Well, I just think he's worried about the gate. He just doesn't get out of the gate well. You know what I'm saying? And if it's a big field like 12, 13 again, which it could be, he's gonna if he doesn't get out of the gate, he's not going to run. You know what I'm saying? So, and the other thing is, we will learn, we'll talk about this later, how good mind frame is if he doesn't run and mind frame is put in. That shows how highly both Rapoli and Pletcher will think of this horse. But I just, until this horse breaks consistently well, I think he's a question mark. You know?
No, I agree. I mean,
Yeah.
it's that every other pattern, like you just mentioned,
Yeah.
and Fierceness actually has the two best buyer speed figures in the race,
He
so it's
does. Yeah.
something that's definitely the bettors are going to take notice.
Oh
They
yeah.
always say the
Yeah.
City of Light progeny, yeah, the City of Light horses. I've always heard that they always get better with age, so maybe a little maturing out of the gate. And I don't think I was dreaming when I guess I said I was going to get like 8-1 on Fierceness. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think we're going to be more. You got to see maybe like a 4-1, 5-1, even. I don't know, but we got to see how the whole the whole field takes shape here. But interesting to see, and a good point. Maybe he won't even be entering, but it says probable right now, so we'll see what the
Yeah.
connections
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, very good. And then so that was Fierceness. So possibly those were the two top the ones that the bettors are going to take notice on Belmont Day.
Mm-hmm.
We got the Preakness winner, Seize the Gray, for Dwayne Lucas, looking for his third straight graded stakes win. So a lot of races in a row here for Seize the Gray, Preakness winner. And what did you think of, anybody can go, what did you think of the Preakness performance? And what did you think of him just having a nice early lead in the Arrogate? I guess that, the bloodlines came into form there with really got the distance really well.
You did. You want? I'll start on this one, Tim, because your baby's next. What do you call it? What do you call it? Yeah, I think this was a clear case of Jamie Torres should have been put in jail for stealing the race. I think he just went to the front, and everyone thought in back of him thought he's going to stop. He's going to stop. He's going to stop. Oh no, he's not stopping. He keeps going. You know what I'm saying? And he won very impressively. I think everyone in the back was expecting him just to come back. He never came back. In fact, he finished pretty strong. And I give him tremendous credit for that. On that. That being said, Pat Day Mile, 2 weeks later, the Preakness. I think that was his ultimate performance. Now you're going to the Travers on Saratoga in a mile and a quarter. I know it's the 3 weeks, but this versus this field, right? If Fierceness is going to the lead, he's not getting the lead that he did in the Preakness. I'm just saying, if he's in this field, there are other speed in this race. I don't see him pulling off what he did in the Preakness, and especially third race in 5 weeks. I like the horse. I think he's talented. I think he belongs at the mile and 8 versus, but I don't see it.
Yeah. Yeah, when I said graded stakes, actually, he's won obviously the 2 grade 1s in a row. So, and then we have Arrogate was actually the sire of Arcangelo, who's the Belmont Stakes winner last year. So, I think bettors are going to take a look still. Yeah, Preakness winner, sire was the previous winner of the Belmont last year, and Dwayne Lucas. Yeah, I mean, I question. I know Dwayne Lucas is, he runs his horses a very trying pattern. But this is, the 5th race in 11 weeks. And I think that's a lot. I mean, for a young horse, I always have this thought in my mind when I looked at the Kentucky Derby probables, the future pool, that this horse actually took a lot of money when he was originally on the Derby path. So this horse was meant well, but Jaime Torres is an upcoming jockey who, he makes some good decisions on the track. Like obviously, like you mentioned, the Sen. So it's going to be interesting. Any quick thoughts on Seize the Gray there, Tim?
Yeah, real quick. I don't want us to all go so long on every one of these horses. We'll be here all night. So I'll just say this. Seize the Gray will not get that uncontested lead that he got in the Preakness. Bob Baffert came out this week and says, I think we should have sent Imagination after him. You think, Bob? It's like they let this horse get out on the lead. But look, love the coach. This is how he runs his horses, but this is a lot of races for this horse. He will not get that race, and I just think it all catches up with him in this one. So it's a no for me, Coach. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then that leaves us next with Honor Marie, a Kentucky Derby contender. And I know Tim, is high on this horse. I think this horse has a look too for Son of Honor code. And Yeah, you can tell us, Tim. I think that this horse has a lot to move forward with, and a lot of excuses in that Derby race. I thought too.
A ton. I have watched that race a lot. You guys know I was high on Honor Marie. It was my pick going into the Derby. It's a horse. Although I ended up going with Fierceness. This is a horse that I've been on all year and I've watched all year. And I was really high on this horse going into the Derby. And I would just say that I had trouble after trouble, but still found the way to get through and was finishing, in my opinion, looking at how the horses were finishing up front with Sierra Leone and Forever Young coming up to Mystic Dan. I think Honor Marie was out finishing them all. And that is after encountering all that trouble. The Honor Marie is not going to get that trouble. This is not 20 horses. We're not even going to get all of these horses. I think a few of these don't go. So at the end of the day, I'm back on Honor Marie again. I'm very high. I love that they decided to forego the Preakness, train up for the Belmont. I think the 1.25 miles is the perfect distance for this horse. The only question right now is who is Witt going to put up on this horse, because we all know that that Ben Curtis is on the sidelines right now because he had a fall and an injury. So he's sidelined for a little bit. I think, I know nothing and I've not seen this, but Tyler Gaffleone is available with a move on Sierra Leone. I would love to see Tyler get this mount. I think this horse is a good match for him and how he rides. And we'll see. We'll see going forward. But Honor Marie for me is a must play on top.
Yeah, very good point. And what do you think, Sean? I mean, you were pretty high on this horse too, come Derby Day, right?
Yeah,
You had this
yeah.
horse underneath.
He had plenty of excuses. I don't have to piggyback too much on Tim's point. I think the only thing that I would, if there was a concern about him, is, and it goes for a lot of these horses who have not been to Saratoga. How does he take to the Saratoga track? I think it's the workouts and the kind of days beforehand will kind of lend a little hand with the stories to see how he's doing on it. If you haven't really been to Saratoga, it's a very different, deep track. Exactly. But other than that, I agree with Tim. And again, the rider will be key. But I think this horse is one that you have to give him a valid excuse for the Derby, and will be a very live play at the Belmont.
Yeah, no, I agree. Honor Marie's been working out. The reports say very well. So, the horse maybe has a lot more to give here. So good luck, Tim, and to the players there. And good. So we got Antiquarium. I know my friend Sean Patrick Nolan here has been high on this horse. This is the Peter Pan Stakes winner, won a grade 3. Been pointing to this race. And we know Todd Pletcher's history in this race. He always does well at the Belmont. And yeah, the floor is yours, Sean. Sell us on Antiquarium.
Okay. So I'm actually talking objective here. I'm not, I don't like to do these videos and just, obviously my heart's rooting for him.
Yeah.
And obviously it will be interesting if Fierceness does run, he will have a new rider, which he's never had. He's had Johnny V for all the races. So it should be interesting to see how that all folds out. That being said, this horse, I'm going to put an X around the Louisiana Derby. He broke through the gate, right? For a young horse, it was only his third race. People forget that. It was only his third race. He broke through the gate and still finished 5th. He wasn't that far behind, you know what I'm saying? But clearly the gate incident, that didn't help him at all. That being said, and the Peter Pan was his 4th race. We all know Preservationist, his dad, loved Saratoga and won the Woodward very convincingly versus some very talented horses. I think this is one of those horses. He reminds me, everyone's Colonial Affair, Centennial Farms, won the Belmont, Julie Crone, won came in second the Peter Pan to Virginia Rapids, and then so kind of people are like, is this another Colonial Affair? Now, Colonial Affair was a multiple grade 1 winner, so let's not go that far. But this horse has improved every single race he's gotten into. That Peter Pan was a determined. I'm not saying he faced the Wine Steward is a very good horse. I'm not going to call him like an absolute, world beater. but he beat him and he put him away at the end, which I was very impressed. So the longer the distance, it's not going to hurt him at all. He's a perfect set on the pace style, which fits for the Belmont and for Saratoga. So I think the type of race that's going to set up will be perfect. The jockey will be key, but I think he definitely has a legitimate chance in this group.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, Tim, on also, but I really think that this is the horse that seems to me like he's kind of improving and kind of shining at the right moment. And we've seen this in the 3-year-olds crop. You know, it was like Arcangelo last year, you know, just kind of step right up and win, you know, decisively. What did you think, Tim, of Antiquarium here? I was just reading also, that the sire won the 2019 Woodward too at Saratoga, like you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. Everything you guys just said. So to add one thing quickly, and that is the fact that I do agree that this horse coming out of the Peter Pan, it's the same path that was taken, last year by Arcangelo. So we know it can be done. However, we mentioned that this horse has been moving forward, and I think it's going to take another move forward against some of these because Antiquarian hasn't raced against a field of this caliber so far.
Big jump, definitely.
Huge jump for sure. Yeah, going to be have to run the race of his life, but this is what it's all about. The Belmont Stakes here. And we got next we got our Kentucky Derby winner, Mystic Dan. So yeah, I was a little surprised. I thought maybe, I wasn't sure. I mean, it says possible here for Mystic Dan, but, obviously Kenny, brought him to Saratoga right away after the Preakness. A very good second place finish, in the Preakness Stakes. So it'll be interesting if Mystic Dan can run in the Belmont. They're going to wait, maybe go for the Travers or something else like that. What are your early thoughts, Tim, on Mystic Dan? And if he enters this field, what do you like his chances here for the Kentucky Derby winner?
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna give you a 2-for-1. We got Mystic Dan followed by Torpedo Anna right here, back to back. Mm-hmm. They're both Kenny McPeak horses. So let's talk about both of them at once here. I don't think Mystic Dan runs. I really don't. Okay. Mystic Dan, despite having an okay finish and doing okay in the Preakness, I think that they're going to take this horse and go ahead and train him up for the Haskell. And the reason that I think Kenny is going to do that is because of the next horse on the list here. I think he's got a filly that's just dying to take on the boys. They're going to have to, they're going to have to pay a supplemental to get this horse even into the race. But I'm telling you, this filly's for real. I want to see this filly take on the boys. So if I had to, play my druthers, and I don't get to do that, but I really think that that's the way it's going to go. I think we're going to see Torpedo Anna here and not Mystic Dan. So that's just my thoughts on it. So I'm not even going to look at Mystic Dan in that regard until I hear exactly what they're going to do, because I'm all about seeing this Kentucky Oaks filly run against the boys.
Yeah, no, it's a very interesting point you bring up. I was watching the Torpedo Anna race right here in my living room, and I just said, wow, she just had another gear and she just went. Like, it was just, so you bring up some good points there. The distance and, fast Anna, and it's, the Oaks winner is, the Acorn winner, both grade 1. So I think that, the connections are going to really take a shot. And, we've seen it with Kenny McPeak a few years back, with the Preakness Stakes. So
yes, with Skydiver. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So this move has happened before, different classic race, but very interesting to see what happens there with Kenny McPeak. So very interesting, Tim. You thought that maybe the Haskell could be on the radar. Very good.
I do. And I just think that the 1.25 miles here, since we're not doing 1.5 miles, really sets up for this horse to, and again, it'll be one of those that'll be talked about if it happens. Oh, well, she wouldn't have won against the boys if it was 1.5 miles. But I think the 1.25 miles makes it even more so that I think the connections have to try her here. And I don't really think that McPeak wants to run both of his horses against each other.
Right. Yep.
All right, good. And Sean, any quick thoughts there on Mystic Dan?
I'll just piggyback quickly on that. plain and simple. Mystic Dan coming around the turn in the mud, right? I think he's just going to absolutely engulf Seas the Gray. And you know, like coming around the turn, I'm like, race is over, right? He flattened out, absolutely flattened out, right? He had an absolute chance to get Seas the Gray. He flattened out. This would be his third race in that way, exactly. And as Tim said, Torpedo Anna, she's not in the race if it's a mile and a half, but it's not a mile and a half. It's a mile and a quarter. And this is exactly where Kennedy McPeak could absolutely thrive. She could beat these guys. Just FYI, Junior, she ran her best race of her life, and she was still not even close to her. You know what I'm saying? This horse is just an absolute freak. She's the grizzly bear, and these guys better have their fur on them, because the grizzly bear, if she comes to Saratoga to mile and quarter, she's coming with her running shoes.
My whole Twitter feed's going to be grizzly bears, just, you know, loving life. So
exactly. Yep. Awesome. That's it. Yep.
All right, cool. So we covered the both McPeak probables, and then we got Dornock, who was, you know, drew the one post at the Kentucky Derby, didn't break well. Any real excuses? I mean, I know that that's obviously the huge field, so it's kind of a toss away race for me. I'm just not convinced Dornock is got the speed of the speed, you know, to be up front. So any thoughts on Dornock here? I know Good Magic has been a up and coming sire the last few years. This could be an interesting horse, kind of could be overlooked based on, you know, also who has he really beaten this year also. So what do you guys think on Dornock, and what kind of price do you think we could get as well?
Yeah, I think you're going to get like 15 to 20 to 1 on Dornock if he runs. I really believe that. I will give him the excuse in the Bluegrass, and the fact that he knew that the rabbit was going to go out and he didn't want to send Dornock with the Derby coming up. I'll give him that. I'll give him that. Louis just sat like a statue the whole time in the Bluegrass and didn't move, right? The one pole, it was not ideal for Dornock, but he didn't get out, and he didn't really like impressively come back. He just seems to, and even the Florida Derby group, the group one wasn't great. You know what I'm saying? So he just has to prove to me now that he can actually beat the big. I know he beat Sierra Leone, and it's back in New York. So maybe Dornock's just a horse who loves New York, and that is definitely in his favor. He's back in New York, where the tracks that he loves the most. So that could definitely be in his favor. Obviously, the post will be huge for him, but until he's got to beat the boys before I can get back in his good graces.
And I would ask Tim, but I think he hasn't really been too high on Dornock this year. And I know that he was pretty low on your Trust the Prophets listing, but any kind of different look here? I mean, I know we don't have post draws yet, but any look here for Dornock?
I'll just say this. You're absolutely right, Keith. I just keep hearing, and Sean was right on all his comments. It's the same thing everybody else was saying. But here's what I keep hearing everybody say. Excuse, Dornock's excuse here, Dornock's excuse there. You know, here's the excuse. This horse isn't good enough against the rest of these horses. This is a good horse. This is not a Triple Crown caliber horse of some of these others. Play against for me. If you're getting less than 20 to 1, you know, I still think it's a play against, because I'm not sure 20 to 1's not an underlay on this horse.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. Yeah. All right. Very interesting. And then we got Tuscan Gold, who finished 4th place in the Preakness, probable, you know, horse here for the Belmont. You know, my quick thoughts is that, you know, this horse didn't seem to really like the you know, the muddy going there, you know, at Pimlico. I would kind of, you know, little downgrade with this horse, but interesting. This was sort of like the wise guy horse of the Preakness Stakes. Took a lot of money. It was a lot of experts I saw online. Top pick was Tuscan Gold. So I actually picked this horse second in the Preakness. But if you get a fast track, you know, this would maybe be the race that everybody's kind of looking forward to for the step forward. Any quick thoughts, positive, negatives on Tuscan Gold? I left you guys silent.
I'm with him. I'm just neutral with him. I mean, like, he wasn't good. I'll give him, if you want to play the excuse game, he didn't like the mud. I'll give him that. But I just think he's I think he's just a step below this group.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
You know, Keith, he jumped into the deep end way too soon. Let's let him grow
Mhm.
up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not a bad horse, but
No,
you
not
know,
at all. Not at
but
all.
he's an inexperienced horse compared to some of these others right now. That I think this is going to be a solid horse going forward, but
Mhm.
I'm not gonna have any of my money on Tuscan Gold here.
All right, and then we'll just round this out pretty quickly. We got the Wine Steward, New York bred. You know, it's been took some time off and was in the placing that you mentioned before. Any Mike Maker horse finished second in the Peter Pan possible for this for the Belmont Stakes. Any quick thoughts on the Wine Steward here of Vino Rosso prodigy?
I think he's a cut below.
All right.
Honestly, I think he's a good horse. He's a very good horse. I don't think he's a great horse.
You know, this is one of those horses that I've got a feeling about. I like the Wine Steward. I've liked the Wine Steward all year. This is a horse that I think that when you look, they definitely have played their cards a little bit slowly here as they brought this horse into his 3-year-old campaign. So yes, the second in the Peter Pan and was really backing up and wasn't given antiquarian, any kind of challenge at all up front. But that was his second race back this year.
Yeah,
You guys know one of my favorite angles, third off a layoff. I just look for a big step forward on the Wine Steward, and we're gonna see whether or what this horse is actually capable of in this race. That's the way I really feel about it. Is that we're going to see whether or not the Wine Steward it can compete with horses the likes of these others. I don't believe the Wine Steward is a win candidate, but I would not leave him off of my vertical plays in here as if you're playing exactas and trifectas, because I think the Wine Steward's going to be there.
Yeah, and historically, Peter Pan horses just come in live. They do. They just come in live into the top 3 and 4. The Peter Pan horses run very well. So both Antiquarian and the Wine Steward, you have to take a look at. I'm not saying they're going to win, but you have to take a look at both. I
agree,
no doubt.
Very interesting. And then we'll just round it out real quick. We got these are just possible ones. We'll go real quick. We got Mind Frame, Son of Constitution. I don't think the distance will be an issue there. Batten Down, Tap It, another distance one where Tap It is, I think, won 4 out of the last 10 Belmont Stakes. So that's interesting. Bill Mott's always patient with his horses. And we got Protective for Todd Pletcher, who has a history in the Belmont as well. Any quick thoughts on these 3 possible contenders?
Yeah, I don't want to just glaze these over. So let me just back up to Mind Frame really quickly, because I've got a thought here about Mind Frame. When you look at the connections here and you look at this being a horse who ran on Derby Day. Yes, it was an allowance race, but the horse looked fairly impressive winning that day. This is a horse who he won by 7 lengths. He's 2 for 2 so far. Yes, he has not run in a class like this so far. But I will tell you, if you watch that workout earlier in the week where he worked out with Fierceness, this horse outperformed Fierceness. And I was waiting for this point here to talk about this horse to say something that Sean said earlier. I think Napoleon Pletcher run Mind Frame and not Fierceness in this race.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yep.
That is my gut feeling. I don't know anything. I just think that this is their horse that they really think going forward is going to be a better horse. And young horse, inexperienced, but again, the connections are there, and if they do that, then that would take the pressure off with Fierceness. And I just think that there's a lot of buzz coming around about this horse, especially after that workout. Now, let me say this: I think it's big shoes, right? This horse is definitely jumping into the deep water here against a lot of the others, but I can see it. I think this horse might play a part. I'm not sure. Again, I'm not sure this is a win candidate, but this is a horse I'm playing underneath if he's in the race.
Yep. And
Very interesting.
batting down at least impressively won 1.25 miles, which he broke his maiden, but he did win 1.25 miles by 8 lengths. Now, I'm not saying that field that he beat is this group by any means, but when a horse runs at 1.25 miles, he's out of close hatches, who clearly could run all day. Yeah, and he's what's his name's full brother, Tacitus. You know what I'm saying? And Tacitus, we know could run all day. So it's not without saying he got 1.25 miles. He could do it again. I just don't know if, especially if like a Torpedo Anna is in this field, she could completely destroy this group because she's a machine on the front. There could be some real problems for some of these horses like Fierceness and Batten Down and Mind Frame if they think they're going to go to the lead versus her. She runs out front like it's nothing to it. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be that's a pretty tough move. And Protective, I think that's just Ripoli being in New York and it isn't even won a race yet. I think this is hoopla beforehand, and we're going to wait until other days.
Yeah, we'll pass until the horse at least wins a race. I mean, it's
exactly.
Right, yeah, maiden there, and third place in the Peter Pan. Hey, if you think the Peter Pan is going to be a live race there, then you can give that horse a look. But yeah, that was just an early look at the field. I mean, obviously we don't have the post draw yet or the actual horses that have entered the field, but it's always interesting to talk about these horses early, kind of fill in the couple of weeks here before the big stakes weekend. So. Again, maybe I'll put you guys on the spot. I know we're recording this in May, but any early, your favorite, your top pick here in the Belmont Stakes? I know we don't have all that information yet, but any horse that you're kind of going. I know, Tim, I have a feeling I know you're going to pick one horse here, but you can tell us again.
It's no surprise, but look, I think it's a valid pick. I'm like Sean. I will talk all day about horses that I really love with my heart, but I got to bet with my head because my heart isn't making me no money. So, but that being said, I love Honor Marie in this position. But I'll tell you what, here's my exacta right now: Honor Marie and Torpedo Anna. And it's just like, and if I in my verticals, I'm going to play Antiquarian and the Wine Steward underneath with possibly, Mind Frame if the horse is there. So those are 3 horses I'm really looking at underneath. But I'm going to go right out right now and say my exact is Honor Marie and Torpedo Anna.
Very cool. I like it a lot. I know it's early, Sean. I know you've been talking about a horse here in this field for a while. So you think that's going to be your top pick?
Does he have a chance? Yes. But I will right now say if Torpedo Anna's in this field, I think she's the horse to beat. I really do. I think she's just a freak. She's huge. She will take to the Saratoga. I think very well. I think, especially if we see Mystic Dan scratch, I think that means that Kenny McPeak is absolutely 100% convinced she's doing fantastic. He didn't run her the Preakness, gave her 5 weeks. She'll be fine. She's a big horse. She needs those 5 weeks. I just think she will be a major, major stumbling block for these horses and this field. Obviously, I think you have to throw Sierra Leone in underneath. I'm saying I'm not going to toss him completely but he's not to me a single at the top by any means. So obviously Antiquarian, I think he has I'm rooting for my heart, but I would have him maybe like 3rd or 4th, in terms of but to me she's the real deal. I think she's the real deal. And if this was 1.5 miles, I think Kenny says no, we'll wait until another day. It's 1.25 miles. I think he's gotten exactly what he wants.
It's going to be really interesting. You bring up some good points about the connections, having multiple horses that could, scratch one or kind of just pull back one for another stakes race. Antiquarium is actually the horse I've been kind of looking at just with the path of Arcangelo last year. Kind of interesting to me. So it's early, but that's the horse that I kind of have my eye on. I don't have Catching Freedom to bet in this race, so I kind of got to get a little creative and maybe save a little money this time. So, but that's a horse that really tried hard for me, and be interesting to see where he goes next. But appreciate you guys joining me. It's always fun to talk early about these probables for the Belmont Stakes. And any final thoughts here? It's going to be at Saratoga. It's going to be interesting.
Can't wait.
I
Yeah.
know, Sean, you're going to have a lot of fun there. So any quick thoughts there?
I think it's going to be fun. The post position draws will be huge. Obviously, the weather conditions in the track obviously will be huge as always. So you got to look at that. Also, for horses like Anna Marie and those guys that are coming up to Saratoga, read the thing, see how they're doing on the track. I'm going to see how they're taking to it, because it's a track where if you haven't run on it, it's a pretty hard track to run on the first time. So it's just a lot of things to factor in, but I think it's going to be one of the most exciting Belmonts in a long time.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Torpedo Anna, I'm going to be keeping an eye on that horse, and appreciate you guys talking with me about these horses. And yeah, we got a lot of big content coming out here on Trust the Profits. So stay tuned. We're going to have some Assiniboia Downs, big action next week. And then we're going to have a lot of videos coming out in preparation for the Belmont Stakes on June 8th.
Very
so
exciting.
Appreciate it. And yeah, let us know who you like in the comments, and, like and subscribe to Trust the Profits. And any final thoughts there, Tim and Sean? Or I think we're good for now. We're going to be making more videos soon for sure.
Absolutely.
See everybody at the spa.
See you at the spa.
Take care now.